If I had to choose a single word to describe Pokemon Sword and Shield, it would be contentious. There have been cracks forming in Pokemon's facade as far back as Gen 3, where we first began to see statements popping up about the series becoming stale. With every generational leap in hardware, graphics continued to creep up as a sticking point, but most players were still content with what was being released. Sword and Shield is where the fanbase at large really became divided. Sentiments that effectively boiled down to, consume the content and be happy about it if you're a fan, or, screw this product and anyone who likes it cause it sucks, got loud and haven't quieted down since. As a believer in nuance, nothing is ever that cut and dry. I could harp on the same talking points as many have before, but instead I'll say this. While I enjoyed my experience as I do every Pokemon title, I was disappointed by Sword and Shield. They delivered a lot of what I've come to expect. A slew of new creatures to learn about, finding new favorites, and discussing questionable additions. We get some more quality of life features, most notably remote access to our PC boxes, XP candy, and mints to adjust natures. The Gym Challenge succeeds in its presentation as a major spectacle, helping to characterize the people and region of Galar. A lot of the battles are quite fun, although they require you to go out of your way to make them challenging. The music continues to be top-notch, and the character designs are mostly solid too. Mostly. On the other hand, the story and character writing felt like a big misstep. I couldn't shake the feeling that this was a 3DS title that got retooled to be on the Switch, with a tacked-on wild area due to Breath of the Wild's open world success. And probably my biggest complaint of all, we get cutscenes that act like they have voice acting without actually having any, leading to a cheap and clunky presentation. And, not forgetting that this is another entry in the removal era, we need to address the latest to get the axe. Giving the Let's Go games a pass because they were clearly tailored to be Gen 1 on the Switch, Sword and Shield are the first games where the full array of Pokemon are not obtainable or usable in-game for, in my opinion, no justifiable reason. We also lost a ton of moves. Rest in peace, Hidden Power. No more universal coverage option for me. Even Mega Evolutions and Z-moves are on hiatus to make room for the new mechanic, Dynamax. Pokemon go big mode now, for 3 turns. This will be my first time replaying Sword since launch, and while my feelings about the game itself are lukewarm at best, I'm looking forward to seeing how the challenge spices things up. Hop and I are presented our starters by Leon, Hop's brother who is also the unbeatable champion and bad with directions. If there's anything this game wants you to remember, it's these details. I decide to pick Johnny English the Sobble, meaning Hop goes with Scorbunny. Hop and I immediately get into battle, and it's a 2v1. Tough, right? Nah, they engineered this battle to be unlosable. Wooloo is easily defeated at level 3, and provides you enough XP to hit level 6, learning a stab attack to hit Hop's starter hard for the win. Leon sets us on the path to the nearby lab, saying we should be properly equipped before considering the gym challenge, but a wild Wooloo has other plans for us. We follow it into the Slumbering Weld, an area that's supposed to be off limits. And this here's the reason why. Some thing confronts us and we're unable to do anything to it before we're consumed by the fog. Ominous. We're no worse for wear though, so we make our way to Wedgehurst, meeting Sonia and getting a Pokédex. With the acquisition of Pokeballs, our first level cap is set at 20, pretty high for a first cap. Pokemon are simultaneously visible in the overworld and hidden in the grass now. My methodology is similar to what I did in the Let's Go games. If I go for an overworld encounter, it'll have to be a close-by, eligible one that I see. If I don't, then I'm risking my encounter on the Mystery of the Grass. Dusty the Nickit is our first edition on Route 2 as we head over to Professor Magnolia's. Leon is persuaded into endorsing us for the gym challenge, but only after Hop and I have a battle. Johnny English just repeats our last battle, tearing through Wooloo and Scorbunny for the win. In order to really drive home that we're the most specialist trainer to be in Galar, some wishing stars crash land nearby. When converted into Dynamax bands, the wishing stars are what we need to Dynamax our Pokemon. I forget to head back to Route 1 and grab an encounter before hopping on the train and landing myself in Wild Area 1. This is fine though. There are tons of zones within the wild areas that each provide their own encounter, so we get straight to catching, adding a ton of Pokemon to the roster. First is Cedric the Minccino in the rolling fields. On the west side of Lake Axwell, we find and catch Wart the Timpole. On the east side, Kuma the Stuffle joins the ranks. We find and catch Bud the Badoo in the Dappled Grove next. The overworld encounters by the Watchtower ruins are actually too strong to be caught right now, so Majora the Duskull is found and caught in the grass. All of our exploration leads to Johnny's evolution into Drizzile, and our last catch for the moment is Pepe the Stunky on the south side of Lake Mylock. We finally get to move on to Motostoke and get registered for the gym challenge. Sonia will continue to pop up here and there as she goes on a journey to uncover the mysteries behind Galar's history. For now, we're forced to enter the Void as we battle Team Yell, this game's pitiful follow-up to Team Skull. Rest in peace interior battle backgrounds too, yikes! At least we get to see Kuma's cute animation as he pummels the fodder for the win. We finally get to meet most of the gym leaders we'll be facing and make our presence known to Chairman Rose, the man responsible for Galar's prosperity. Hop and I get into another battle to kick off the challenge, now that it's officially underway. Kuma quickly defeats Wooloo, and Wart handles Rookity with a Chain of Echoed voice. With the move's power stacked up, Scorbunny quickly falls next for the win. A somewhat familiar face joins the team as we catch Marnie the Galarian Zigzagoon on Route 3. We enter Galar Mine number 1 and catch Goliath the Roly-Coly. We know Hop and we've met Marnie, now it's time to meet Bede. He's kind of a douche, which makes it easy to get into battle with him. Marnie takes the lead and uses Snarl to take Solosis out, and Majora easily outpaces Hatena for the KO. Johnny then cleans Gothita up for the win. Sure, I bet you weren't trying that hard anyway, buddy. He lets slip that he's collecting wishing stars before heading out. I wonder why. I'm sure we'll find out when it matters. Moving on, Route 4's grass hands us William the Wooloo, and we finally make it to Tufffield, home of the first gym. Jesus Christ, bro, watch where you're going! Another plus for Sword and Shield is that the games make sure you interact with each gym leader outside of battle, as seen in this intro to Milo. Training continues, evolving Goliath into Carkol, and one of Sonia's lore dumps takes place before we finally hit up the gym. Every gym comes fitted with a special challenge that must be completed before you can battle its leader, and in this one, we're forced to wrangle some Wooloo. With the sheep herded and some battles completed in between, the team heads back out to complete their training. Marnie's evolution into Linoon marks the team's readiness to battle the leader, finally. This is where Sword and Shield really shine. The battle is framed like a Premier League match, with a full and hyped crowd ready to watch two teams duke it out for their entertainment. I aim to please, getting things started with Marnie in the lead. Milo's Gossifleur manages to land Magical Leaf once before our barrage of Pin Missile take it out, and Milo sends out his ace, Eldegoss, next. Knowing what's coming, I beat Milo to the punch in Dynamax. Max Flutterby does about a third to Eldegoss, but more importantly, lowers its special attack. The two titans exchange more big mode attacks before one final attack blows Eldegoss up, literally, for the win. With a handshake, the first badge is acquired and the cap increases to 24. Heading to Route 5 next, we catch Otonoke the Dottler and get into another tussle with Team Yell. We're awarded a bike for helping, but Team Yell might as well be XP candies with how easily they get bodied. Maybe Hop will put up a better fight. Okay, maybe not, but at least he isn't insufferable. It doesn't take nearly as long to reach Hulbury, the location of our next gym, but there are things to do before we can take the gym on. First, another interaction with Rose who, aside from having Bede by his side, looks dreadful in his incognito fit. Seriously, why wear that if you were still recognized and address the press? We're also able to catch something here, adding Crunchster the Choodle to the reserves. Then we have to go find the leader, Nessa, before we can enter. The challenge this time around is a puzzle maze, where we have to flip water switches to eventually reach the finish line. Some more training is required following the completion of the maze, but our battle with Nessa is at hand soon afterwards. Bud is our best lead as we start to set up against Goldeen, using Stun Spore and then Growth. Thanks to Absorb and a Shell Bell, Bud stays relatively healthy as Aracuda is sent out next. Absorb is a 2-hit KO after taking Bite, and Nessa's Ace Dreadnought is sent out. She and I both go big, and I block Max Strike on turn 1. Dreadnought's Max Darkness ends up packing enough of a punch to take Bud down for an unexpected first death of the leg. Oof, time to go with plan B. I send Majora out and immediately double into Kuma, baiting out another Max Darkness. With Dreadnought's Dynamax over, Kuma starts spamming Baby Doll Eyes to lower its attack stat as much as possible. Majora then burns with Will-O-Wisp, crippling Dreadnought to the point that Johnny English can clean up without issue. That was a hard-fought victory for Badge 2, and a level cap increase to 27. Otonoke fills the gap in the squad as we meet up with Rose and Sonia for more exposition, then head to Galar Mine number 2 and add Boomburst the Noibat to the team. Bede decides to throw down with us, looking to put us in our place for getting close to Rose. Dude clearly has some kind of attachment there. Some Night Slashes and Headbutts put him in his place, easily clearing Solosis, Galarian Ponyta, Hatena, and Gothita for the win. Team Yell is already beyond tired at this point, as we run into them again at the end of the mine. Thankfully, we're able to battle them both at once alongside Hop. Johnny and Kuma quickly work through their team with little difficulty, clearing the path for us to meet Kabu, the next gym leader. Our next mainstay is found on the other side of the mine, as we catch Bayonetta the Hatena on Motostoke's outskirts. We also finally get into battle with the apple of Team Yell's eye, Marnie. Bayonetta immediately gets to work, using Psybeam to OHKO Krogunk after tanking Sucker Punch. Boomburst gets some action, using Air Cutter to deal with Scraggy. Marnie's final Pokemon is Galar's Pika clone, Morpeko. Goliath goes first and does good damage before I get Kuma to finish Morpeko off with Takedown. That was a nice warm-up before we tackle Motostoke Gym's challenge. This time, we're to catch Pokemon with the gym trainers acting as a hindrance on our side. The first Pokemon we catch here is eligible for use in the challenge as well, which is a nice bonus. Our first catch ends up being Radiator the Sizzlipede, and we quickly catch some more Pokemon to complete the mission. Kuma evolves into the beast that is Beware with some more training afterwards, and we ready up to battle Kabu. Goliath is our opener, as our best defensive option by far. Ninetales ends up helping us out by activating Steam Engine right out the gates, speeding our minecart up. A combo of Ancient Power and Rock Blast are then more than enough to deal with Ninetales and Arcanine afterwards. When Centiskorch is sent out, we both go big mode and let our max moves fly. With an overwhelming type advantage though, Goliath easily secures us the win, raising the cap to 36. Just as Hop and I are about to re-enter the wild area, our first 3 gym leaders catch up to bid us farewell, further characterizing them in a good way. Bede challenges Hop off screen, leaving us free to explore on our own. We make many more additions to the reserves, but our biggest new add is Elise the Joltik from the northern half of Lake Mylock. She'll bring some excellent coverage to the squad as she catches up. A meeting with Rose, Oleana, and Bede is first on the list of story stuff to get through as we arrive in Hammerlock next. It's here that we find out Hop lost to Bede off screen. Yeah, that makes sense. We meet Raihan, the 8th gym leader, and also get another of Sonia's lore moments in the city's vault before we can finally move on. Only to hit another Team Yell roadblock. We deal with our Mook just fine, but Hop is so tilted that he loses. No worries, I need the XP anyway. Hop leaves with a head hung low, hoping to redeem himself and clear Leon's name, and we're introduced to another gym leader, Opal, before getting to move on for real this time. Route 6 offers up loads of experience as we work through it to reach Stow on side for another gym battle. Hop's looking to test some tweaks to his battle style as he challenges us. Elise starts to chip away at Cramorant, and I almost lose Goliath due to an absent-minded switch, but ultimately get Kuma to finish the bird off. Silly Cobra goes down no problem, as does Toxel. Hop has the good sense to keep Reboot on his team, but it's no match for Johnny English. Bring your Wooloo back, bruv. At least you were having fun while losing. Stow on Side's gym is the first version exclusive gym in the series. In Sword, we're working towards a battle with the fighting type user B, but the challenge is the same either way. We spin in a cart down a course and get into battles as we progress. These battles and our subsequent training afterwards lead to a ton of evolutions. Goliath, Bayonetta, Johnny, Marnie, and even Elise all reach their next stage before the team is ready to roll. Let's hope our newfound power is enough to contend with B. Elise starts the battle off by applying the staple that is Sticky Web and uses Electro Web once before Bayonetta finishes Hitmontop off. I pivot into Goliath when Pangoro is sent out, shrugging off Night Slash before burning with Will-O-Wisp. We're circle thrown into Kuma, who manages to finish Pangoro off. Goliath returns to the field to burn Surfetched, especially necessary since it used Swords Dance. Elise makes use of a Rocky Helmet alongside Electro Web to weaken it further before I send Kuma back out to get the KO. B's ace is Machamp who, like Kabusenta Scorch, enters its signature Gigantamax. Despite holding a partial normal typing, Kuma is able to use the gimmick to greater effect, securing us the win. The level cap makes another jump to 38, but we have some lore to get through before speeding off to the next gym. Bede is using Chairman Rose's Caporaja to destroy a mural, intent on finding wishing stars. He mistakes our attempt at stopping him from being a vandal as a threat to his position near Rose, leading to another battle. Duosion and Gotharita both go down to Elise's Bug Bite, as does Hatchram, who takes a big chunk out of us first. I pivot to Marnie to deal with Ponyta last, just in time for Rose to show up and give Bede an earful. He gets disqualified from the challenge, fully losing his endorsement from the chairman. Bede's actions do lead to a pretty major discovery though, and Sonia has a Jimmy Neutron-style Brain Blast as the pieces connect in her head. The heroes of old were actually 2 Pokémon. We're afforded no time to dwell on the implications though, we've got a gym to get to. We work through the gorgeous Glimwood Tangle to reach Balinline next for a battle with Opal, the old bat we met before. Her gym's challenge is a quiz interspersed into the gym trainer battles, where a correct answer grants a stat boost and vice versa. Super easy to work through, but with 2 of our guys going over the level cap, we'll be entering this battle at a bit of a disadvantage. Bayonetta leads the charge as the battle commences, taking Galarian and Weezing out with relative ease. I pivot into Elise to deal with Mawile, answering a random-ass question. How was I supposed to know your favorite color? Was there a hint to that somewhere? Elise continues to put in work, taking Togekiss out and leading to the Clash of Big Mode. By playing around Max Guard and Max Flutterby, Elise is able to stay alive and time out Alchemy's Gigantamax, teeing Johnny English up to end the battle with Snipe Shot. The level cap increases to 42 ahead of a long trek to Sirchester for our next gym battle. Opal joins us on our return trip to Hammerlock, cutting the length of the trip down a fair bit. We discover that Bede isn't out of the story yet, immediately being taken under Opal's wing as her protege. An explosion in the power plant raises alarms, but because we're just a dumb idiot kid, Leon will handle it off screen. Instead, we move on to a battle with Hop. He's still not learned his lesson, shaking up his team composition even more. The lead Trevenant poses no threat whatsoever to Goliath, setting up rocks and burning it before I send Elise out. Elise continues to apply hazards with her Sticky Web, then gets the KO with Bug Bite. Johnny English snipes Cinderace and U-turns into Kuma to deal with Boltund, Snorlax, and Heatmor for the win. Hopefully Hop can work past the self-imposed pressure of being Leon's brother in time to become a real rival. Aside from seeing Team Yell act as a barrier to travel, the trek to Sirchester is uneventful. The town is home to another version-exclusive gym, with Sword providing us Gordy the Rock-type user. Again, the challenge is the same, navigating a map with pitfall traps and trainer battles. Once that mess has been dealt with, Bayo quickly trains to join the rest of the team at the cap, evolving into Hatterene. As a Rock-type user, Gordy is cooked. Barbaracle and Stonejourner are both taken out by Kuma's Hammer Arm, Shuckle is wrecked by Snipe Shot, and his ace Colossal is destroyed by Max Geyser for the win. The level cap increases to 46 after earning the easiest badge yet. We head over to Bob's your uncle to have lunch with Sonia and Hop, conveniently finding another tapestry about the legend. Light bulbs finally go off in our heads, remembering the creature from the start of our journey. Theorizing that maybe we can become the new heroes, Hop and I get into a battle. He's finally brought Wooloo back, now evolved into Dubwool. Hammer Arm takes it out, of course. Elise handles Corviknight with Discharge, and Goliath defeats Cinderace with Ancient Power. Johnny tanks Pincurchin's Bubble Beam on Switchin and U-turns into Kuma, eventually getting the KO with Bulldoze. Despite the paralysis, Kuma outspeeds Snorlax to end the battle with one last Hammer Arm. Hop's finally shaken off whatever he was feeling and speeds into his gym battle, letting us move on. The ever-present and annoying Team Yell provide another speed bump, but their defeat this time unlocks water traversal for our bike. We use that new upgrade to skim across to Spikemouth, where Team Yell is acting up again. They've closed off the primary entrance into Spikemouth, trying to prevent challengers from getting to the gym. Marnie has some integrity, so she offers us an alternate route inside in exchange for a battle. My Marnie starts the battle by dropping Liepard with Brick Break, then uses up Struck to debuff Scrafty before Bayonetta is sent out. Dazzling Gleam immediately OHKOs, and Goliath is the play to deal with Toxicroak. With the Froggo burned, Kuma is able to enter safely and KO with Bulldoze. Morpeko is then squished by Hammer Arm for the win. Spikemuth's gym is a bit different than the rest. The challenge is just a series of trainer battles, but there's no power spot, meaning Dynamax is off the table. As our prize for clearing the challenge, we're blessed with this doozy of a cutscene. Yes, that was a musical performance with implied vocals that was completely devoid of voice acting. Piers should consider himself lucky that he's one of the best characters in this game in spite of his awful display. Bayonetta gets the battle started with an easy KO on Scrafty, and Kuma builds on our momentum with an Obstagoon KO. Johnny U turns Malamar for big damage, pivoting into Marnie to clean up. Piers' final Pokemon is Skuntank, taken out by Marnie's headbutts for the win. The level cap only increases a bit to 48 ahead of some trouble, but we are once again sidelined by Leon so he can handle it alone. Stop benching your best player! As we reach Hammerlock, we're reminded again to stay out of the conflict. Pokemon are Dynamaxing on their own and outside of power spots, which was previously thought to be impossible. When the problem gets out of hand, we'll finally get involved. For now, we can focus on the next gym. The challenge is to run some double battles, each focusing on a weather condition. This is completed without issue, quickly freeing us up to prepare. The gym trainer's weather of choice should have clued you in, but Raihan will be using Sandstorm to his advantage as we get the battle started. I have Bayonetta and Johnny English face off with Flygon and Gigalith to start. Johnny's Icy Wind hits both Pokemon, and Bayonetta does the same with Dazzling Gleam to KO Flygon. Snipe Shot Oko Sandaconda as soon as it hits the field, and Dazzling Gleam connects again to chunk Gigalith. Raihan's Ace Duraludon is sent out, so I replace Bayo with Kuma. As Duraludon G-maxes, I finally take Gigalith out with Snipe Shot. Now my two Pokemon can work together to fell this tower. I opt for Kuma to go big, using his power alongside Johnny's Tearful Look to eventually get the KO and the win. We've now qualified for the Champion Cup. There's no Elite Four this time around. Instead, a tournament is held between the challengers that secure all the badges. The winner of this part of the cup moves on to the next round against Galar's gym leaders, and the winner here is given the chance to knock Leon down a peg or two. Don't forget that the story is developing behind the scenes as we head over to Wyndon to get this tournament started. Our first opponent of the tourney is Marnie. Keeping in mind that the XP share can't be turned off, I try my best to keep my levels close to the ace of my next opponent, with an absolute cap of 65 for the tournament. Bayonetta starts the battle, taking Liepard, Toxicroak, Scrafty, and Morpeko down. Marnie's ace is Grimmsnarl, entering its G-Max form as I pivot to Kuma. Kuma tanks Max Darkness and tricks Grimmsnarl into using Max Starfall as I send Goliath out next. Goliath then Dynamaxes and blocks Grimmsnarl's final max move before it shrinks back down, making it complete fodder to KO for the win. Hop is up next. He's copying Leon's whole flow, bar for bar with the face slap and throwing technique. It's time to end this man's career. Double and Snorlax are dropped back to back by Hammer Arm, no idea why he did that, and Goliath takes to the field to set up against Corviknight. With Rocks up, Incinerate is a 2-hit KO. Pincurchin is burned by Will-O-Wisp as it starts to set up Curse, then we trade blows, until Hop heals it up to full. I get Elise out to set up webs before a crit Poison Jab scares me back into Goliath. I burn it again, then send Bayonetta out. Psychic does massive damage, and Rocky Helmet finishes the job as we tank Poison Jab. Goliath re-enters as Hop Dynamaxes his Cinderace. I go big as well, a risky move with so little HP. Max Guard and Leftovers work to keep us alive, timing out Cinderace's Dynamax and netting us the win. We're supposed to meet up with Leon for dinner following our match, but he's a no-show. Piers informs us that he's gone to Rose Tower. It certainly isn't the best reason, but I guess it's time for the story to kick things up a notch. Oleana is determined to prevent us from reaching Leon, starting with a game of cat and mouse with Macrocosmos' grunts. If that name feels like it came out of nowhere, that's because it did. Eric's got the key we need, but after beating Eric 3 times, he makes a run for the monorail. Piers comes to the rescue with another voiceless song, and we're able to reach Rose Tower. Beating some more grunts on the way up ends with a battle against Oleana herself. She's taking this way too seriously. Frostlass and Double Team are a tried and true combo, but Goliath doesn't really give a shit and gets the KO with Incinerate after setting up rocks. I get Johnny English to tank Milotic's Surf, then U-turn into Elise. Discharge takes care of Milotic and Salazzle is sent out. That's a free steam engine boost for Goliath, who returns fire with Ancient Power. Serena is burned by Will-O-Wisp eventually, so I pivot into Elise again. I set up Sticky Web and then switch into Bayo. While the Burn and Rocky Helmet chip it down, Bayonetta uses Calm Mind and Life Dew, preparing for Oleana's final Pokemon, Garbodor. We both go big and we cut it close, but all of the boosts we build up allow for Max Mindstorm to KO and win us the battle. Rose's ambitions are made clear finally. He wants to call off tomorrow's event to try and solve a problem that's 1,000 years away. What a moron. He, of course, will have his way in the end, but for now, it's back to the tournament. Finally, an interruption I actually welcome. Bede was never going to take his disqualification lying down, and he's eager to prove his stuff in battle against us. Johnny English hasn't been getting enough screen time, so he leads, taking Mawile out with Snipe Shot. Gardevoir requires 2 more, and Rapidash is overkilled as I Dynamax early. Thanks to the rain being up already, Max Geyser hits the G-Max Hatterene hard. We tank G-Max Smite once and pivot to Bayo to take the last Max move. Once Bede's Hatterene shrinks, I send Elise out to end the battle, getting a crit Bug Bite. It was a good enough showing that the audience begins to root for Bede again. Love to see it. The semifinals can now proceed as planned, with our first match against Nessa. Kuma trades with and forces Golisopod to make an emergency exit, which sends Pelipper out. Elise is the play, tanking Water Pulse and answering with Discharge for the KO. I swap back over to Kuma to tank Seeking's attacks and KO with Takedown. Golisopod is healed and forced out again, replaced by Barraskewda. I decide to Dynamax here, using Max Knuckle to take it out and power up. Golisopod is finally put down by Max Strike, and Dreadnought comes out last. I use my final turn of Big Mode to land another Max Knuckle, just barely missing the mark. We easily shrug off Max Darkness and then end the battle with Bulldoze for the win. Our next rematch is against B. Hawlucha uses Bounce for middling damage as we get our webs up, then falls to Discharge as he'd expect. I pivot into Marnie to tank Phalanx's Rock Tomb, then double into Bayonetta to tank Close Combat. She's easily able to knock it out with Psychic. Surfetched, Grapplocked, and Machamp all follow suit, though we do require a couple hits to take the ace down. Raihan's our final hurdle, but it's a single battle this time around. He's added Harsh Sunlight to his team, which makes the trade between Johnny and Torkoal come a lot closer than I'd like. Still, we get the KO, then pivot to Bayo with U-turn as Guja tries and misses Thunder. It then sets up the rain as Dazzling Gleam takes it out. Turtonator reapplies the sun as I continue to spam Dazzling Gleam for the KO, and I pivot into Kuma as Flygon sets up a Sandstorm. Once again, I beat the opponent to the Dynamax Punch, using Max Knuckle to power up and KO ahead of Duraludon. Our final turn of Dynamax is spent getting the win, using Max Knuckle to OHKO Raihan's ace. With absolutely ungodly timing, Chairman Rose initiates the Darkest Day, trying to solve our 1,000-year off problem. Leon Dash is off to do whatever, and Hop and I head back to the Slumbering Weld. The Darkest Day requires a hero's power. Zacian and Zamazenta show their faces before retreating into the fog again. As we give chase and reach a clearing, all we find are a rusted sword and shield. I don't think that'll be much help against Eternatus, the source of the Darkest Day. Still, we have to forge ahead, getting into battle with the big bad himself. Goliath leads, taking big damage before dropping his Scavalier. Ferrothorn takes another chunk out before falling, so I'm forced to switch to Kuma to deal with Klinklang. Berserker also gets hammered, and Copperajah is sent out last. We both go big, but the type matchup secures our win. Max Mindstorm did hit hard though. I'm sure it was a valiant effort, but the unbeatable Leon fails to stop Eternatus, meaning it's finally our turn. Goliath does a great job dropping it to about half, and Johnny English finishes it with Icy Wind. Eternatus gets its second wind and enters its Eternamax form next. Hop and I are forced into a raid-style battle with it, but we're not able to do anything. Holding the sword and shield up from before, the heroes of old join us in battle. Our combined efforts are enough to fell the dragon, and its catch is guaranteed, marking the end of the Darkest Day 2.0. Absolutely brutal that we have to grind to hit the cap after a spectacle like that. To try and change the pace of things, we hit up some raid battles, using the XP candies we get as rewards to power up faster. The final touches are made to the team, and at long last, we challenge the unbeatable Leon to battle. Marnie's Obstruct weakens Aegislash, and our Guts boosted Night Slash Okos on the following turn. Kuma tanks Rhyperior's Mega Horn with absolute ease and starts to bulk up. Earthquake hits hard, but our powered up Body Press hits even harder, getting the KO with a sliver of health to spare. Haxorus and Dragapult are up next, and both are felled by Johnny's Specs boosted Ice Beam. Elise takes over when Rillaboom is sent out, the evolution of the same groupie that was left behind when we started our journey. Bug Buzz is a crit Oko, forcing Leon down to his last. Game Freak's favorite, Charizard. Goliath takes G-Max Wildfire like an absolute champ, then Dynamaxes herself to KO with Max Rockfall. An impressive win to finish Leg 31, with only one death on the board. The story and overall quality of the game didn't feel any better the second time around, but I did have a blast going through it again. The Soul Lock challenge is the perfect way to crank the difficulty up on an otherwise easy game, and this was an incredibly solid lineup of Pokemon to use for it. I have some newfound appreciation for Goliath, a line I discounted because I don't like its design. Kuma proved to be an absolute juggernaut, a reliable member from day one. And with this leg complete, the Sobble, Stuffle, Zigzagoon, Roly-Coly, Hatena, and Joltik lines join the ban list. We'll be visiting Galar one last time in Pokemon Shield next time.